Hi everybody, thanks for joining me. It's Carl here talking about legal technology, not for the first time. This is the first set of interviews that we're recording for it, and I have to say it's taken a while to get to this stage. But I'm delighted that my guest this afternoon is, he won't need much introduction to most of you, I suspect. A stalwart of the legal industry for, more years than he would care to remember. I'm talking, of course, about the legend that is Martin Siddle. Good afternoon, Martin.
Great introduction. Thank you so much. I'm not sure about a legend.
You are so welcome. I should explain for viewers that this is the first of 3 interviews with Martin. We didn't think we could get it all into one, so we're splitting it into 3. So we'll kick off the first one, and I guess for me, Martin, the thing that leads naturally into where we're going to end up in here is, why did you set up SN25 a few years ago?
That's a good question. I've always wanted to be my own boss. And when I knew my time at LexisNexis was coming to an end, I wanted to take the skills that I had learned over the years and apply them to a business. The idea of SN25 actually came to me in a conversation with one of our friends, Tim Long. We were talking about what was missing in the legal industry and how we thought it could help. And the idea of SN25 really came about over a pint. So yeah, like most good things.
Oh, fantastic. I should actually be transparent, shouldn't I, with people thinking that this is not the first time we've met. We've known each other off and on for 20 years. So we are relatively familiar with each other's backgrounds. I'm intrigued that when I saw the name of the company, I kind of got it. I didn't really know what a sales agency was. Perhaps it would be worth explaining what that is.
Yeah, sure. I didn't want to be a consultant. I didn't really want to tell people what to do. I didn't want to get involved in system selections. And as you know, my skill set is primarily in selling things. So the idea of a sales agency was to help other organizations sell their products and services into the legal market, whether that was acting as a go-to-market person or a salesperson or just really in an advisory capacity. So that's how the sales agency name came about.
Fantastic. I mean, having worked with you as, you selling me in periodically, I found it hugely useful. Everybody I've spoken to that uses you seems to say the same thing. How's it worked for you? Were you your own boss? Did it feel that way?
It very much did. I was lucky enough that my wife Beverly came on board to do all the back office stuff. So that freed me up to concentrate on what I like doing, which is basically talking to lawyers, understanding their problems and finding solutions. I don't think I've missed working for a large FTSE 100 organisation. I think the freedom of working for yourself has been really enjoyable. The fact I get to choose who I work with. So one of the philosophies is only work with people I like. And that's worked out really well. So here we are coming towards the end of year 3. And it's been successful. Really, really pleased with the outcomes.
And I am so impressed you managed to get some brownie points by mentioning Bev there. I'd also say as well, it appears as well you haven't lost touch with the sort of the legal firm community. So it's not just the liaison with suppliers, but you seem to have kept abreast of what people are up to via your contacts built over many years.
Yeah, and that's always been one of my strengths, is to know what's going on in the marketplace, both from a supplier point of view and from a client point of view. A lot of the clients I've built up my little black book over the years have welcomed me back into their organisations, either just for catch-ups or for advice, and it's been really enjoyable not being shackled by a small set of products, but being able to talk more broadly about what's going on in the legal technology market.
It's interesting to hear that, actually, in terms of the term you used, which was shackled, but also, there is a lot out there in the legal technology market. And sometimes it's difficult not to get blinkered, I suppose, when you're representing a firm to not really pay much attention to what else is out there, which probably brings us on to our conversation today, which is about Maluma. Now, for people who haven't heard about Maluma, perhaps it'd be really useful if you could explain a little bit about who they are, what they do.
Yes, so Maluma is a UK software house formed by two of our former colleagues, David Hartley and Martin Reed. They also used to work for LexisNexis. They left about 12 years ago now to form Maluma. And fundamentally, they're data geeks. They just love data. They've developed a couple of really interesting products, and they now work for a very broad range of law firms and some legal suppliers.
So what was it like working with data geeks then, Martin?
As you know, Carl, I am quite technical. It's really interesting. I think data is fascinating. I think there's so much information that people have tucked away in various data silos. To actually find tools that allow them to understand their data and find out the real gold that they hold in their organization is quite fulfilling and say fascinating.
I think that goes, certainly from a personal point of view, that goes back a few decades now. One of my former colleagues was introducing dashboards, I suppose you'd call them these days, a few decades ago, and the reaction was fantastic. I think one of the things that's been a bit of a disappointment, I suppose, is the fact that folks are now seem to be overwhelmed with data. But I suppose that's probably going to be a separate conversation. But it's interesting to see that, certainly from Maluma's point of view, that they've come up through that data channel, if you like, and that's their area of expertise. And they've got a couple of products. Perhaps you'd like to walk us through DataSync first off.
Yeah, sure. So DataSync has been designed to help organizations that run open edge systems. So in the legal community, that's going to be Visual Files, SOS, Proclaim, and some old Soul Case sites. As you probably know, OpenEdge is a great transactional database, but actually accessing the data was not what it was ever designed to do. It's quite a difficult database to understand. So seeing this was a major problem, the guys at Maluma created DataSync. And what it does, it actually replicates in real time the OpenEdge data. So it extracts the OpenEdge transactions, it converts them into understandable SQL, and then it stores it in a really easy to follow SQL folder structure. Now, the benefits of that are that you can run your reports. Your reports run in seconds rather than hours, as they often do on a OpenEdge database. But the very fact it's in SQL means the data actually becomes alive. You can do a lot more with it. You can push it into other systems. You can move it into a data lake. So you can do deep dives on it. And now in the world of AI, you can actually sit an agentic AI solution over the top and start talking to your data and finding out more information about what's going on in your firm. And that's something that I find really fascinating.
It's interesting as well, I suppose there's the opportunity once into that data lake to augment that information with other systems within the firm as well.
Absolutely.
So
there's a really good story that we put DataSync into a firm that was using SS accounts. And the day after DataSync was live, they were finding data they never even knew existed in SOS. In fact, they were able to find nearly £500,000 of fees they could invoice earlier than they expected. So without having something that was able to drill down into that data, they'd have never have found that information out. So yeah, it's utterly fascinating.
£500,000's not to be sneezed at by any firm, regardless of size. I guess the other thing, you mentioned some of the use cases there, but I know as well that folks have spoken to you about using it just to help with migration, moving off one of the OpenEdge systems to other things. Is that a viable option?
Yeah, we're actually seeing more and more of that. Firms that are moving off SOS or visual files, the ability to get the data out into an understandable SQL format, to then load it in a way that the new system can actually take on board that data. I think we're currently working on 5 or 6 projects that are just about data migration rather than reporting.
That's interesting. As it came up with kind of one use, it's now starting to spread a little bit as well in terms
Yeah.
of its applicability. Can't ignore the fact that LexisNexis, for example, for visual files, has its own product that does, on the face of it, something similar. So, can you explain the daylight between the two?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into the technicalities. That would be something that Martin and David would go on for hours about. But I think fundamentally, data sync is more cost effective than ProtoSQL. It gets installed quicker, and the results seem to be more intuitive than perhaps the ProtoSQL. The other benefit, of course, is that ProtoSQL only works on visual files, whereas DataSync will work on any open edge database. So it does open the door to more opportunities for us.
That's interesting, particularly for those sites that have multiple systems through however they've evolved over periods of years. That's actually another string to the bow, I suppose, in that way, and bringing all that data together again, as you mentioned, data lakes or whatever the next equivalent is going to be, seems a good way to go in terms of aggregating that. They also have another product which is called Fusion. Now, I remember talking to them some years ago now when they had the idea for this and they'd just done the sort of proof of concept almost. It looked fascinating to me at the time. So again, please take us through it.
Yeah, Fusion is really interesting. The concept is that law firms hold on to too much data. And I think we all agree that that's true. They've got data in systems that they've moved off, but they're holding on to the data for just in case reporting. They've got systems they've inherited via mergers and acquisitions. They've got live systems. They've got data all over the organization. And yet they are compelled to manage that data and to delete that data in a timely fashion. So Fusion has been designed to take data from any matter-centric system and bring it into an easy-to-use SQL-based solution so that the law firm ends up with a single location for all of their closed and archived matters. All of the data format is standardized and it's very easy to access. Once the data is in Fusion, the idea is that the law firm can apply their data retention and deletion policies. And using Fusion's deletion engine, Fusion then takes control of deleting electronic data in line with the client's legal and client obligations. So it's a really clever tool for helping law firms manage their closed and archive data. But again, it's evolved over the years, and we mentioned data migrations a minute back. A lot of the new suppliers coming into that sort of case management, matter management world, they don't really want 20 years of old data being taken off the old system and moved into the new system. So we're actually finding more and more instances where law firms are turning to Fusion to actually allow them to store closed and archive data whilst they move systems. So it reduces the time it takes to do the live migration. It makes the migration less risky, and it means that the law firm can actually get onto their new system quicker and have a clean set of data rather than having legacy 20 odd years of documents and data dragged into it.
And I guess one of the questions that intrigued me at the time they explained this to me initially still does. I mean, the fact that it's not just the data, though, it's the documents as well.
Yeah, it's documents and data. In fact, we've just finished doing an iManage migration where the law firm was actually moving from iManage on-prem to iManage Cloud, and they didn't want to take a lot of legacy documents with them. So we actually store the documents in Fusion, and the firm was able to just go into cloud with a clean set of documents in iManage, which again is another business case that we didn't envisage a few years back.
It's interesting. How do the users access the data? You know,
It's
if
a
somebody wants to
really
go and look at the case.
It's a really simple web interface. Maluma don't really care if you've got 1 user or 1,000 users of Fusion. It's just a rolled out web application. It's obviously got controls in it to make sure that people who are into the cases they're allowed to see. But actually the training is about 5 minutes. If you can use Google, you can use Fusion. It's that simple. And they get to see the case details, all the details behind the case, plus all the documents, and if needs be, the financial information on that case as well. So it's a complete picture of what happened when that case was closed.
Fascinating. You mentioned Google there, and I'm intrigued now. Does that mean they can search as well using the tool?
Yeah, but they can search. They use Elastic as their search engine, which means it's really fast. The search, anything in Fusion can be searched. So you can actually search within documents, you can search within data, and it becomes a really successful tool for people that need to access closed archive data.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sold. How do people get in touch to find out more?
They can either find me on LinkedIn, or they can go direct to the Maluma website, malumasolutions.com, and be more than happy to talk people through the various user cases of either product.
Brilliant. Well, I appreciate you taking us through that. I know we've got more to do today, but for now, thanks ever so much, Martin. If you hang around, we'll carry on, but I'm just about to finish this one. And everybody out there, please do get in touch with Martin if you want to find out more, and please pick up our next set of interviews. Thank you.
Thank you.